As you've noticed, I'm not at school today, and I would like to share with you my own story of immigration because I am not actually there to talk with you guys about the events that are taking place at school. So I wrote a short piece that tells a little bit about my story. It's definitely not a sob story. So my parents fled with me and my 2-year-old sister from Czechoslovakia at the time, now Czech Republic, as soon as the Soviet bloc weakened in the 1990s, in 1990. My family had been oppressed by this regime for generations. They were robbed of their wealth, of their individuality, of their freedom, of their education. It was a terrible time for my family. So as soon as the opportunity arose, my parents took the chance to go to the US. They were younger than I am today. They had very few material possessions and almost no money. In fact, my mom had to sell some heirloom jewelry in order to pay for buying like a bunk bed for me and my sister that we ended up actually sleeping in for most of our childhood. But what they did have was their strong educations. Both my parents had graduated from college at good universities for Czechoslovakia. They also had supportive and loving family members who were willing to make financial sacrifices as well as other sacrifices to support them in their journey. And additionally, they also had connections with families in the United States that opened a lot of doors. That they had, as well as the fact that they were coming from a country that is or was considered like a safe and a good country to be coming from, right? So through their connections, they were able to obtain visas through getting a job because those family friends had jobs for them. My parents are brilliant, they're hardworking, their education opened doors for them, and it gave them opportunities for success and wealth that undoubtedly is the reason why we were able to grow up in Silicon Valley in a relatively comfortable lifestyle, especially once we were much older. Um, so I can't really overemphasize how hard my parents worked to give me the things that I had, to give me a life of very few barriers. In many ways, I am the product of an American dream as it's kind of advertised. I'm a highly educated polyglot that has like the world at my fingers, and I just have to kind of take the opportunities that are given to me. So my immigration's the one with a happy ending, and I really owe it to my parents and the privilege of the country that I'm coming from and the opportunities that are afforded to me by my racial and cultural background. Um, One of my closest friends came from Mexico, and when she tells me her stories, I'm left to wonder, how would my immigration story be different, or my American dream story be different, if I was coming from a different country or in a different set of situation? What if, like, my outward appearance gave away that I'm not native? What if I didn't learn English till a later age, and had an accent that kind of like revealed that English was not my first language? What if my parents didn't have connections with someone who was able to give them a job in the United States and that allowed them to get visas, right? What if instead they had to just take a gamble and cross the border by foot or enter by sea, right? Like, what if the country that my parents were coming from didn't have as many educational opportunities, or they weren't able to take advantage of those opportunities? What if they were escaping violence or trauma in a war-torn country, or one that's like ridden with gang violence? What if only one of my parents was able to make the journey? What if my parents had left me in our home country because they knew they wouldn't be able to take care of me in the US and left me with a relative? What if, right? There's so many what ifs in the immigration story. And so when my friend describes her single mom working multiple low wage jobs that are the kinds of jobs that are available to people who don't have documentation, how can someone look at her immigration story and wonder if she's deserving of her fate, right? America is a country that's built on immigration and democracy. Immigrants literally make this country. For example, Silicon Valley owes its success to the brilliance and the sweat that these people bring with them to all areas of society. When someone tells me people should enter the country, the right way, the legal way, the way that my parents did, I wonder, what if the right way is the only way that you can, right? I entered the US through a gate at the airport in my mother's arms, right? I was a baby. One of my closest friends was welcomed to the US with an assault rifle pointed to his head in the Sonoran Desert, and he was being commanded not to run. Both of us entered the best way that we knew how. People come to this country without documents, not because they're like inadequate or don't know how to follow protocol or, we're too lazy to go through the processes. Coming to this country without documents is a clear and a loud message about their desperate situation. People escaping countries that are torn by violence and terrorism shouldn't be doubted and turned away, but rather given the support that they need to come to safety, right? We're better for the people that we welcome into this community, and we're richer for their experiences and their perspectives. We're stronger together than if we're fragmented into groups. Immigration laws are man-made, right? We choose and enforce the laws that we have in this country, and we have a voice to change them and to make new ones, right? The system that we live in is one that we buy into, that we choose to follow. So when immigrants come knocking on the door of the US, I think we should open that door. We should welcome them in, ask them what they need, and then get to work together to make this country a better place. So I'm not at school today because I'm standing in solidarity with my fellow immigrants, and I hope that you guys will too.